The only people who can destroy England are the English. We're too much of a fighting nation, an intelligent nation. I think we're the greatest race of people who have ever been created on this planet. The only people who can defeat us are ourselves, and this is what we're doing. That's why I wanted to write the book in the first place, to explain to people why we have this problem, why as a nation we're dying. These are all feminist lies that women couldn't work. If you were a working class woman in this country 200 years ago, you had to work, otherwise you'd starve to death and your family would starve to death. That's how hard it was making a living in this country. I mean, when you look at pleasure, those things only give us short-term relief, short-term pleasure. And you might buy the latest iPhone, cost you £1,000. And the second you buy it, you're back to where you were a minute ago. Your life hasn't changed. You've not improved anything. The world's not got better. Your life hasn't got better. That initial purchase lasted 30 seconds. You got a kick out of it. That was it.
England is not over. It is not finished. We are not defeated. I challenge any mother to show me otherwise. I know times are hard. I realize we are in trouble. I will accept that we are sprawled out on the canvas. A cut above, one eye, gum shield missing, and looking for the rope to help us get back. I do not want to hear from any coward, quisling, or traitor telling me there is no point in fighting to breathe life back into this ancient land of ours. We are down, we are not out. We are not Jews in Nazi Germany. We are not Eastern Europeans when the Iron Curtain fell. We are not black Africans sold into slavery by our neighbors. The resurrection of England starts with the English wanting their country not to die. This should not be a big ask, but surprisingly, it is for some.
Who allowed all that in our country in the first place? English men dropped the ball, and that's why we're suffering today.
Hello there everyone, welcome to the World of Momus podcast. And on today's episode of Reflections and Reactions, we have a returning guest with us. We have Nick Buckley with us. And we are going to talk to Nick about his book, England, My England, which is available on Amazon. I'll put the links in the description below. And we are going to talk about this book, England, My England, the death and resurrection of the greatest country to ever exist. So how are you, Nick?
I'm good, thank you. And it's nice to be back.
Yeah, so I'm going to read a lot from this book,
right,
because I've been highlighting a lot. So this is something new that I'm trying to do. Talk to people about their books, and as usual on my channel, it's sort of like become a thing. Whenever I have something new to do, Nick is always my first guest to try it out. So where should we start from?
First of all, let me ask you, did you enjoy the book?
Yes, this was a really, really, really good book, because it summarized the issues that are there, but it didn't hold back on, it didn't make excuses, right? It showed the problem, and it sort of like then told people like, you have to actually fix this, like you have to take ownership of the problems rather than just cry about it, right? Because this is what we see most of the time, that people are just reacting, which we see a lot on the right. But so, okay, where is your idea, where is your imagination, where is your rallying people up? Okay, we have to, if this country has been screwed over, then it's our responsibility to unscrew it, right? That aspect I really liked it, because as it says in the subtitle as well, and resurrection is not just the death of the greatest country, it's the resurrection that is needed, right? So yeah, most definitely loved it. So we'll start from this quote from the introduction. I'm not Scottish, I'm not Welsh, I'm not Northern Irish, I am English. I want to save my country, not other people's countries. This task is down to them as patriots and citizens. Nearly half of Scots voted to leave the UK in the 2012 independence referendum. Nearly a quarter of the Welsh want to go it alone, and in Northern Ireland, a third people wish to join a foreign country. How can I fight to save the UK when many of the fellow citizens do not want the UK to be saved? Alongside democracy sits personal responsibility. My neighbours, who I see as cousins and friends, need to do what is best for them. I will do what is best for me, and that is to save my country. And this is a really good point to start off with, because a lot of the problem, because this highlights the problems of the enemies within, right? So the biggest problem in this country, yes, the symptoms are being caused by outsiders, right? And outside foreign interference and foreign ideologies and foreign religions and their actions. But what do you expect foreign people to do apart from being foreign, right? Ultimately, it's the people who are within, who are against their own, they are the ones causing the biggest issue, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I say in a book, the only people who can destroy England are the English, because we're too much of a fighting nation, an intelligent nation. I think we're the greatest race of people who have ever been created on this planet. The only people who can defeat us are ourselves. And this is what we're doing. That's why I wanted to write the book in the first place, to explain to people why we have this problem, why as a nation we're dying. And many of the chapters, I go straight to the core issue, which is England is dying because of you, because of English men. English men have the responsibility to be protectors of their nation, their family, their children, their community. We can look at foreigners, we can look at ideologies and go, that's what's destroying us. And all that's correct. But who allowed all that in our country in the first place? Englishmen dropped the ball, and that's why we're suffering today. And I wanted to get that message out there because I'm sick of people moaning. I'm sick of personal friends of mine in Englishmen going, I'm thinking of migrating to America. I'm thinking of moving to Poland. And I'm going, oh, so you're a coward, are you? Yeah. You're a coward. You've spent 10 years moaning to me about immigrants, and now you're going to be an immigrant and run away from your country when it needs you, and you're going to sponge off another country. You sound like a coward to me. And I wanted that message getting out there. No pink, no fluffy, no looking for excuses, and getting straight to the heart of the matter. Englishmen, you need to do better.
Because this is the point, right? Because if someone like me is unwilling to leave, right? Like an immigrant like myself, who's unwilling to leave because Britain is in the time of her need, right? And then I see, like, because I have opportunity. My wife is Polish. My whole family from that side is Polish, right? I can leave next day. I have most of my family is in America. I can leave, go over there, the next day. But if someone like me is saying, like, no, okay, there is reasonable suffering that can be that we'll have to go through. But if you love the country, you got to fight for it. You got to try to fix it. You got to play your part in whatever way that you are best suited for. Not everyone doesn't have to do everything. Not everyone has to be an activist. Not everyone has to be a journalist. Not everyone has to be, whatever. We all have our different roles to play. But, stay here and play your role, right? Not just bog off to Spain and then from there, like, you're telling people to go to rallies and stuff like that, like, because then you don't have any personal consequences on you, right? And there are many other people who like are doing that, right? Or just go away and not even talk about it, not even care about it, right? Or just go off to Dubai, like as we see, what's his name, Richard Tice's girlfriend, like living over there, and he himself lives over there most of the time as well. So if someone like me is unwilling to do it, who has the opportunity to go, then it's kind of like, I see around these Englishmen, and when they are leaving or they're saying, oh, I'm not interested in the social problems or whatever, I'm just, I don't want to pay taxes or whatever, and I'm just going to leave. It kind of becomes really hard for immigrants like myself to, fight for the country. Then it's like, well, I can't fight for your country. You have to fight for your country, and I can help. I can't lead in this fight because it has to come from you. It's more natural when it comes from you.
No, absolutely. And I talk a little bit about feminism in the book, and it's because we've over feminized our men. Our men are just inferior versions of women. And there's nothing wrong with women. Women are semi-divine. I love women. They're fantastic. Who wants to be an inferior version of anything?
Yeah.
Well, that's what our men is now. We're too pink, we're too fluffy, we care too much about manicures and facials, and it's like, you're pathetic.
Yeah.
You don't protect your children. How many men now in our country now impregnate women and walk away and expect the state to raise their children? That's
Of all
disgraceful.
backgrounds as well. Of all backgrounds, they do that.
Yeah, and some backgrounds more than others.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't expect Englishmen to be doing that. Englishmen need to be taking responsibility of being protectors and providers, not only for their family, but for their nation. But, we've lost our way over the last 100 years.
Yeah.
And now we don't even care about the country enough because so many want to run away.
Yeah.
And they don't think these problems will follow them. But if Western Europe falls to this crap, Eastern Europe's next, and Eastern Europe will fall. America is having the fight of its life at the moment to stop it in America. You can't run away from these problems. All you can do is delay these problems by running away.
You can keep on jumping from one to another as they're falling. You can be as disloyal to each country as you're going, and they will all fall eventually.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. And we just need to get some of that British and that English spirit back, as in, we're going to fight.
Yeah.
And
make a stand.
Yeah, make a stand. And we may not win, but we'll be a bloody good second place.
Exactly.
And if we're going to fall down, we're going to drag all yous down with us.
Yeah, exactly. We'll make a night to remember. Like,
yes,
exactly. There's one thing that you talk about, and this is like we're still in just the introduction of the book. But this is
it's going to be a long podcast, isn't
it? This is a really good point. This is the problem with the whole Western sphere, right? Regardless of nationalities. And that's the problem of decadency, right? So that you talk about. So you say, I looked online and what the different dictionaries had to say about decadency: a sinking to a lower state or level, right? That has happened. The tendency to give in to one's desires for comfort and pleasure, low moral standards and behavior, deterioration, especially of morality or culture, decay, and degeneration, right? And you remind about the Huxley's Brave New World that we read about degeneracy in his book, where control of the people is through pleasure, narcotics, and technology. And we think about the what's the other one? 1982?
84.
84.
Yeah.
Why am I misremembering that? But it's a combination of both things. But this is more what happened in Brave New World is like more apt to it, because, like, as you say, very similar to the position we find ourselves in today: sexual freedom and porn, cannabis and antidepressants, and social media and internet. George Orwell said that, it was here, I could have remembered by reading it actually. George Orwell said that after the Brave New World period came his 1984 vision. Once pleasure seeking and drugs are no longer an option, then Big Brother takes over for the people who have been conditioned to be weak and pathetic. Right, and we are going through that transition period right now, where the Huxley's Brave New World is changing into 1984.
And that's exactly what it feels like.
And I just wanted to mention that because I think so that was such an important point to note, that this is actually what's happening, because we have weakened ourselves because we seeking convenience, we seeking comfort, rather than understanding the importance of struggle, which is why actually Christianity was important for Western civilization more than the faith, that it taught about the importance of struggle and to embrace it as a virtue.
I mean, when you look at pleasure, those things only give us short-term relief, short-term pleasure. And you might buy the latest iPhone, cost you £1,000. And the second you buy it, you go, 30 seconds later, you're back to where you were a minute ago. Your life hasn't changed. You've not improved anything. The world's not got better. Your life hasn't got better. That initial purchase lasted 30 seconds. You got a kick out of it. That was it. Same with porn, masturbation, using prostitutes. These things don't solve your problems and give you a better life. They give you a couple of seconds of pleasure, which then you spend the rest of your time then trying to crave your next pleasure hit.
Mm.
And that's what creates drug addicts. It's that craving of the next hit, and that's what we've done in our society. What makes you happy? The things we've rejected. What makes you happy? Things like family, friends, community. They don't make you happy immediately, but you get a lower rate of return, but over a longer time frame by having those things.
It's the things that make you happy when you're on your deathbed, right?
Yes.
And you look back. It's like, no, I actually lived a happy life because I lived, like, I did right by the people around me and did right by my community and did my responsibilities.
Yeah, I mean, if you're on your deathbed, no one has ever said, I wish I'd have slept with more prostitutes.
Yeah.
I wish I could get better drugs.
Yeah.
No one said, people on their deathbed say things like, I wish I was a better father.
Yeah.
I wish I hadn't fallen out with my brother and not spoken to him for 40 years. I wish I was a better son. I wish I'd done more for my mum and my They're the things people say on their deathbed because they're the important things in life.
Yeah. I mean, it shows our, nature as human beings, like that we are social animals, we're relational animals. Our success is based upon that main value. And I was watching what's his name, that about these older civilizations, ancient civilizations, that Netflix program.
With Graham Hancock.
Graham Hancock. What is happening to me? Like, I'm forgetting things. And when I was watching that, that's when he was talking about this mythology of one person coming in and like from some other civilization and teaching other people like how to do things, and it's repeated. That thing is repeated in very different mythologies of one person or 7 people coming in and teaching, 7 wise men, 3 wise men, whatever, like, coming in teaching people. That got me thinking about a different thing, that actually our quality as human beings is in the few exceptional people that make a difference, right? But you need a support network of a community to first support the upbringing of that one exceptional person, and then a community that can receive the message of that one person and can implement it. And that won't happen if everyone is so fragmented in themselves, thinking they are that exceptional people without the quality, and there isn't an understanding, like there isn't a support network of families and strong communities to actually implement that genius. And that's where we start regressing, even though we might have a lot of technology.
The development of technology has made us more stupid, and it's made an average stupid person think they're better than the people who came before. We look at people like William Shakespeare. I must be better than William Shakespeare because William Shakespeare didn't have an iPhone 10 and couldn't access the World Wide Web and didn't know some of the things I know. So I must be better than William Shakespeare. I must be better than Gandhi. I must be better than, George Washington. It's easy to look backwards in time. And this is what we've all done now in our societies in the Western world. We look back in time and we think those people were stupid. And they weren't stupid. They just didn't have iPhones. But I read somewhere that since the late 60s in the Western world, our IQ now is beginning to drop every year. So we peaked at the late 60s when we landed on the moon, basically. And we're becoming more stupid as every year goes by. So, but we don't believe that to be true because technology makes us think we're clever. But when you look at technology, 99.9999% of people who use this modern technology have no idea how it works.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't even know how electricity works.
Yeah.
The flowing of, electrons. They don't understand anything.
Yeah.
But they think they do because they're using technology.
But the thing is, like, if you put an average person back in time, they won't be able to make an iPhone, right? They won't be able to make it, right? But that person, like, if you take him back in the year of Shakespeare and whatever, the people over there, whatever technology that they're using, whatever level, they know how it's made.
Yes.
Right? And they can replicate that.
Mm.
So obviously they're smarter because the things that they have and they're engaging with the technology, they know how it works. They don't just use it, they
Yeah.
actually make it as well. So let's jump into the first chapter, underperforming Englishmen. I do not like to pass the blame or make excuses. We must acknowledge our faults, mistakes, and incompetence if we are to have any chance of overcoming them and becoming better versions of ourselves. I call this accepting personal responsibility, and this is the code I live my life by. I've also spent decades promoting it as a solution to many of our problems. And this is what is missing, right?
Mm.
This is what you have been pointing towards, and this is the basis of that book as well, like for people to actually because the Englishmen are underperforming, and we can see that day by day. We can see that in the metropolis areas, right, where they are mimicking a lower culture
Mm.
activities and their behaviors, rather than actually encouraging other people to take on their culture and behaviors, because they're just so distanced by it. And when we were talking about the short pleasures as well, like of masturbation and stuff like that as well, we saw recently when the online safety bill came in, everyone jumped in to get the VPN for one specific reason, to be able to access porn.
Mm.
So that's when people got activated and started paying money, right? To not when like the other people were starting up like things or in the community and stuff. They wouldn't be that activated to help a local church or whatever, give them a 10 or 20 pound, like if
Mm.
they're building a new wing or whatever, or fixing the chimney. But no, you can't masturbate, and that's when, so yeah, let's talk about that, the underperforming Englishman. Why do you think this has happened, and what's the way out of it?
It's like all problems, all big
Mm,
problems. It's a combination of factors, so it isn't just one thing to point at. Because we can handle one thing. It's when it's
mm,
multiple things that we have no answer to it. But the weakening of Englishmen started with feminism. Men not having a place anymore, and feminism is like 200 years old. We think it started in the 60s. Now, I wrote a book
mm,
on feminism about 3 years ago, goes into details of this. So we started weakening men through
mm,
that. But then we had two world wars.
mm,
Two world wars killed 1.25, so 1.25 million British men were massacred in two
mm,
world wars.
mm,
They were only separated by 20 years, one generation. So we lost the bravest, the best of our men
mm.
in those two world wars. And it makes perfect sense that the people who are more likely to be killed in a war are the ones who are the bravest, because they're the ones who will
Yeah,
take more
yeah.
risks and charge the machine gun nests and do things like that. So we lost the best of men. And then when those wars are over, we'd lost those bravery genes, and they'd been depleted. We'd lost those skills to pass on to the next generation of boys. So because of those two wars, weaker men raised the next generation of boys to be men.
Mm,
That damaged English and
yeah,
British men.
yeah.
Then we had technology then that damaged us and improved and supported feminism. We had the pill.
Mm,
So the contraceptive pill allowed
mm,
women to go out to work. So we're competing against women now. And then we've also got the introduction and the increase in the welfare state. So men had responsibility for their children and
yeah.
their family. Suddenly the state came along. And I'm not saying we don't need a welfare state. We do. Poverty in the UK was horrendous 100 years ago.
Mm,
If you ever want to find out how bad poverty was, read George Orwell's book, A Road to Wigan Pier.
yeah, yeah.
It
Mm,
highlights the
mm,
poverty. So we did need to tackle that, but like everything, it went too far.
mm,
So the pill enabled women to be tarts
mm,
and sleep around. And even though we had the pill, many of them were too stupid to know how to take it. So we
mm,
started getting single mothers.
yeah.
So single mothers raised children very badly.
Mm,
Men abandoned their children and their wives, knowing the state would raise them. We started rewarding single mothers financially so they could have a better life. that was an incentive for more girls to want to be single mothers. So the single motherhood rate started increasing. And then we started paying men to keep away from their families and not live with their mothers. And all these things contributed to raising weaker and weaker men by the state taking away their personal responsibility. And that responsibility always should have stayed with the men and stayed with the mothers. Parental responsibility says what it is on a tin. Parental responsibility, not the state responsibility.
What do you say about that? I think so. You've talked about this in The Making of a Beggar as well, about the post World War II era, like how it made the welfare state. I think so, right? Um, uh, the relationship of giver and taker, as you call it, like that was established, and because I have like some people talk about like, oh well, most of the time they try to make excuses, or the state didn't help me, or they took away my welfare, or they didn't give me enough benefits and stuff, right? That is a huge problem, isn't it? Because that excuse, not the taking away of the benefits, they shouldn't be there in the first place anyways, right? Because there's a point where you say over here as well, the only acceptable path to tread when a man has a problem is the one that leads to a valid solution. It is not acceptable to cry about it. But they have made Englishmen into crybabies, you know.
Yes, they have. Yeah, and it's offensive to people to say that.
Mm.
Men should be able to cry. It's toxic masculinity that stops men crying. And if men could cry more, they wouldn't be committing suicides at 4 times the rate that women commit suicide in the UK. And my answer is, if I cried in public, I'd want to commit suicide. So yeah, let's stop trying to raise men to be women, eh?
Yeah.
So men shouldn't be crying. Men, and there's times where men want to cry, and that's fair enough. For a man, the only place a man is allowed to cry is in his bedroom with the door locked. He cries his heart out for whatever reason. And there's reasons for men to cry, because men get upset and stress and pressure and death of a child, whatever the reason is. Lock yourself in a bathroom or a bedroom, cry your eyes out, wipe your face, unlock the door, and tell no one ever about it. That's the only time it's acceptable for a man to cry. Because if you cry beyond that, you're just advertising your weakness. You're advertising how pathetic you are. And even though you may want to cry, you do yourself no favors by showing everybody how weak you are, because other men lose respect for you. And what people don't tell you and what women don't tell you is they lose respect for you. They won't tell you, but they lose respect for you. And next thing you know, they're treating you like a woman. So stop crying in front of people. Start looking at your problems and start solving them one at a time, a little bit at a time, and solve them. Stop making excuses about why you can't get what you want, because if you want something, it's down to you to get it. It's not the state's problem. It's not the state to give it to you. But that's what Englishmen have become and British men have become. We've become weak and pathetic.
Yeah. And there's a difference between being gentle and polite to being weak and pathetic, right? So you can be gentle and polite, like with people, you can have like and show emotions and stuff, but there are emotions that show weakness, right? And it's not just like showing weakness, it's also not doing anything about it and then being dependent on other people to help you, right? That's you're not just crying about it, you have actually become a woman because you're dependent on others to help you, right?
Yeah.
You're not dependent on yourself.
How is your wife and children going to feel safe?
Exactly.
And
They can't
safe,
depend on you then.
because they can't depend on you, because you might break down in tears.
Yeah.
So that's why there's no crying. It's not because we don't want you to cry. It's because you need to understand your job and your role, and your job is to be a protector and a provider. And if you're crying over certain stuff, well, your wife and your children will lose confidence in you.
Yeah.
That then has a negative effect on their mental health, because they don't know when they're safe and when they're not safe. Your job is to always, even if it's a fake type of safety. Your
Yeah.
job is to always make them feel safe, even if they're not safe. Your job is to
Yeah.
make them
Yeah.
feel safe.
Yeah. Yeah. um. So we move on to weak men are killing us. That is within this, and we have already been touching about
Mm,
this animes, but this is a bigger part. But I think so. This was very important about the huge problem with the pharmaceutical company and how they have sort of you know added to this problem as well.
mm.
The findings of a study in the journal Aquatic Toxicology are interesting. Fish exposed to 5 nanograms per liter of, I can't pronounce this,
Yeah.
ethylene whatever pill, right, found in contraceptive pills, produced fewer offspring than those that were not, and gave birth to more females than males. And the same pill now has been found in, or whatever the component is, has been found in streams at levels higher than 60 nanograms per liter. Previous studies have found estrogen, female hormone, in water leads to male fish developing ovaries and other female characteristics. This hormone can also enter waterways as a byproduct of animal farming. If these chemicals affect fish, then what is it doing to men? Can chemicals related to female development affect the physical, mental, and emotional well being of men? In 1992, a study found a global 50% decline in sperm counts in men over the previous 60 years. Subsequent studies have confirmed this finding. Some studies show a link between this dramatic fall and traces of the contraceptive pill in the drinking water. This is not the fault of women, for men invented the contraceptive pill. Just another little thing men did to improve the lives of women. If hormones in a man's body change, it can cause his breasts to grow. This is called, what's it called? Gynecomastia, and is caused by an imbalance between the sex hormones, testosterone, and estrogen. All men produce some estrogen, but higher levels of testosterone stop the estrogen from causing breast development. What about the other chemicals that could be having an effect? Um, why have you used these words? By bisphenol, I think so. Bisphenol A is found in some plastics used to make food containers, bottles, and coatings in tin cans. US scientists say this chemical has an even larger effect on sperm than the contraceptive pill in drinking water. What about the trendy foods we choose to eat? Could they be turning men into women? Maybe. Have you heard of the derogatory term soy boy, used to describe the type of men I'm discussing? Men who prefer healthy, trendy, plant based food instead of real man food with fat, blood, and gristle. Is it is too much soya partly responsible for the over feminization? Part of the problem with soy is it is now an over processed chemically enhanced goo made in factories to exploit the nativity of the foolish. All processed food is trash, but soya does have the secrets that few people know about. It contains isoflavones, which are converted in the body to fight whatever, which are similar to human estrogen, right? I wanted to read this part because it's very important, because our inventions having a byproduct. Our inventions, not just our inventions for the progress of humanity, but our inventions to make our lives more comfortable,
Mm.
are turning into the pets of our own inventions.
And we've got a whole history of this. I mean, they're modern ones. I'll talk about them in a minute. But if you
Mm,
want to look back in time, let's look at, in the 60s, we created a drug for women with morning sickness called thalidomide. That,
mm,
that deformed all the babies. The guy who invented a chemical for refrigeration, that was destroying the ozone. So we can create things, but we have no concept of the unintended consequences
mm,
of our actions. You do A and you get B. That sounds
mm,
great. But what we don't realize is the byproduct is C, D, and F. and they may be more dangerous than having A and B in the first place. Now, those chemicals we talked about, I think it's something like 90% of the female contraceptive pill comes out of the woman's body in her urine. So it gets flushed down the toilet, and that water gets reprocessed into drinking water. Our filter stations that process all this water do not take out chemicals. They only take out bacteria and viruses. In London, certain places of London, you can find traces of cocaine in your drinking water because that many people are taking cocaine and peeing it into the toilet and being processed. We don't take out chemicals. So we're drinking these things. And even though I don't say it's definitely having an effect on us, but here's one scenario that it could be having effects on us.
Yeah. Even if it's having like 1% effect, but all the combination of these 1% is going to have some effect, right? Because in the past, like this is the thing, like we have now plumbing and stuff, and we are dependent on sewage systems and plumbing, which is good, like, you know, good for hygiene and stuff, like how we doing things. But that means then some portion of society's mistakes are compounded on the rest of the society, aren't they? And we are compounding it even more when we are inventing things just to make our lives easier rather than to actually make our lives better, because we're not trying to make our lives better as in, you know, try to achieve more as human beings. So it's just like more comfortable. How can we be more comfortable?
Yeah, and even though we're becoming more and more comfortable and fatter because we have more food than we ever want, we've also at the same time, and they've proved this now for the last 60, 70 years, with lots of questionnaires every decade, we're becoming more and more unhappy. So having more and more doesn't lead to more and more happiness. It leads to the opposite. So we may have more, we may be more comfortable, we have more choice, but we're becoming more and more unhappy. Hence why many of us now are on antidepressants.
Yeah. I mean, I think so the life of men without struggle is empty.
Yes.
You know?
I remember Jordan Peterson saying he thinks we're beasts of burden. He said, if you don't give a man a task, something to aim for, something to achieve, if a man doesn't always have something like that, he's an unhappy man. Men must always be a beast of burden, always need a problem to solve, something to get better. Otherwise, we're not protecting anyone. We're not providing for anything. And I agree with that. We always need a challenge. Why did we climb that mountain and conquer that mountain? Because it was there. Why did we explore the world? And many people died exploring places. Why do we keep on doing it? Because a challenge was there. Yeah. That's what men do.
Yeah. You need to keep testing ourselves so that like when the actual situation comes, we are ready to tackle it. Right. Okay, let's move on to uninspiring politicians. That's the next chapter. And there's a quote by Margaret Thatcher: if you just set out to be liked, you will be prepared to compromise on anything at any time and would achieve nothing. And I think that this is a perfect quote to explain most of our so-called conservative politicians, including Farage, including everyone in Reform Party and stuff, because they're just out there to be liked, you know, and has created for a very long time incompetent politics and politicians, you know, resulting in incompetence all around.
The only politician we have at the moment who I think has some integrity that I disagree with, and I would never vote for the man because I'm against everything he stands for, but at least he tells you what he wants. At least he's consistent, and that's Jeremy Corbyn. Jeremy Corbyn, I would never vote for the man, but since Thatcher, he's the only politician I could name who has a vision for the country, who tells you his vision, and he's not for changing, and he's not for backing down, and now he's set his own party up. Good for him. I won't be voting for him, but good for him, because he's not going to be dictated to by opinion polls, by, do you know what's fashionable today? This is I'll jump on board.
Otherwise, he would have won. You know, in this day and age. If he would have gone by opinion polls and diluted his message himself and his ideas and stuff, he could have won.
I don't think he could have done, because
No?
don't forget, he got more votes than Keir Starmer.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
So he got more votes because he was honest.
Hmm.
And more people decided that wasn't for them. But at least he was honest.
Yeah.
There was none of this, I'm going to tell you this, but when I'm in power, I'm going to do that. He was honest. And I respect him for that, even though I would never vote for the man. But then I think I talk about in the book, what we need is statespeople.
Yeah.
Not politicians. A statesperson is someone who has a vision for the country and loves the country and will do what they tell you they're going to do. And if you don't like them, they tell you, don't vote for me then, because I'm telling you what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
A politician is a slimy careerist who will weasel his way in and tell you whatever you want to hear, because all he wants is your vote. And when he gets in, or she gets in, they have no plan, like this Labour government, and like the Tory governments before. No plan, no idea, because they spend all their time just trying to get elected.
As you say over here, I've worked in government and seen firsthand waste and incompetence. But it does not matter, because the cost only comes out of the department's budget, which is automatically renewed every year. No staff members are held accountable, punished, or asked to reimburse the budget. This could never be allowed, because incompetence goes up the ladder to the very top. Local government and central government, I think so. I have previously written about my time at Manchester Council and the waste I saw and was party to. The £1 picture frame we refused to buy from Poundland, so spent £15.99 online. The employee who was paid overtime every Saturday to operate a machine that required 2 people to operate, he sat and watched TV for years in the canteen. The £1,200 posters not fit for purpose and went into a skip. The anti-bike theft microchips that were fitted to thousands of bicycles, but no suspected stolen bike was ever scanned by the police. The tightrope balancing course funded to help people off long-term benefits and into work, as well as stand-up comedy courses. I am laughing at what you say. It is not a laughing matter. It isn't. So this is the other side of incompetent politics, right? Because when your governance at that level of politics is that incompetent, they will have no effect on the local government and the central government, and you will get this local government and central government will become a blob which just runs by itself for itself. There's nobody accountable over there, and that is again the unintended consequences of just being a populist without a vision.
All governments, depending what level, and the civil service are there to promote their own interests and promote themselves, their wages, their pensions, their budgets. They're not there for us. That was the biggest learning curve I learned at Manchester Council. They're not there for us. They're there for, one second. They're not there for us. If we're going to solve any of it, and this is where all our governments, no matter what colour rosette they've got, this is where they always mess up. They never plan for the long term. It's always short-termism. If we're going to tackle knife crime, we're looking at least a decade, if not 2 decades. If we're going to fix the NHS, we're looking at 30 years. If we're going to have a decent energy policy, that means building nuclear reactors today that will come online and start working a decade from now. Nobody wants those conversations. And the reason why no one wants to do that work is because the politicians are saying, I won't be in power then. I'm not going to get any benefits out of this. A different government, a different party will reap the rewards of the work I do today. All I care about is the next election cycle. I'm up for election in 2, 3, 4 years' time. I need something to look good today so I get elected tomorrow.
Because it's a job for them.
So everything is short-termism. And it doesn't even matter if the short-termism works or not. I've had politicians say to me at Manchester Council, Nick, I need this fixing. Can you fix it? And I go, not in 18 months, I can't. When you're up for election again, I can't do that. Can you make it look like you're fixing it? I went, I can do that,
Yeah.
but I'm going to waste all my budget. And the answer's always, you do that. Make it look like we're fixing the problem. So I would waste tens and tens of thousands of pounds pretending to solve a problem for the benefit of a local politician, knowing I'm making no impact here at all. And that's one of the huge problems we have. That's why we need statespeople. A statesperson will go along and go, I'm doing the right thing. And if it costs me my job at the next election, I don't care, because I'm a patriot and everything I do is for the love of this country. It's not about me and it's not about my career. Yeah. We're missing people like that.
Yeah, very much so at every level. But to connect to what we were saying before, there's a quote over here that sums it up really well. Every country has a government it deserves.
Yeah.
And for me, like, to understand this is to actually empower yourself to bring change rather than mourn. Right? Because, well, if this is the government that we deserve now, then what is our failings? Right? How can we fix our failings so that we have a better government? Because we will deserve a better government. Right?
Yeah, and that's what a democracy is about. A democracy always gets the government it deserves. And a democracy will only be successful if you have better citizens and better voters. But we've neglected that duty of being better citizens and being better voters, because we've allowed our politicians to bribe us and to promise us the world. And even when they're promising these things to us, deep down inside, we know they're lying to us, because we've got hundreds of years of the proof. So we know they're lying to us, but it makes us feel better. And he goes, you know what? I'm going to vote for them anyway, because they're making me feel better that they may give me things I want. And what we should be doing as voters is, this election isn't about me. This election isn't about me having lower taxes. It's not about me. It's about my country.
Yeah.
It's about my children's lives and my grandchildren's lives. And I want a government that's going to improve their lives. And this is going to be hard work and a long slog. But if I keep falling for these short-term promises of these charlatans, these career politicians, well, and I keep saying in the book, that's our fault.
Yeah.
How many times can you be lied to and then still believe the person lying to you is they mean it this time? Stop being weak and pathetic, and stop blaming politicians because we keep voting them in.
That's a very good point, because as you put a quote over here by Cromwell, he who stops being better stops being good, right? And it's not just like, we can't just keep on blaming the politicians, because the politicians come out of the society. So as a society, if we have stopped being better, that means we have stopped being good, and that will reflect on the politicians, because everyone just wants to be comfortable, don't they?
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's move on to unwanted immigration. Opening quote by Dalai Lama: Europe belongs to the Europeans. Right. So this is a very interesting chapter. I'll quote something from here. So many people are benefiting from this invasion racket that it is difficult to stop it, but not impossible. Hotel chains, security firms, private medical practices, transport firms, charity sector, mobile phone companies, catering companies. I wanted to start with this quote because it's very important for people to understand. It's very easy to blame the immigrants for not caring about your country, but I don't understand why people would expect someone if you're giving someone an advantage and that person is coming to take that advantage, why are you expecting that person not to do that, right? But this is the heart of the problem, because a lot of our own people over here, they're benefiting from this racket. So they keep allowing it because it makes them rich in their own little sectors, in hotel chains and security firms, this or that. So I think that this is like a huge heart of the problem. If you fix that, you fix a lot of the problem, like when people stop being like just self-centered.
Absolutely. You could fix the vast majority of our problems in this country by ending mass migration. And the few problems that we've not fixed will become easier to fix. So, first of all, we need to understand who's benefiting from this. Well, of course, it's the migrants. If I was born in Bangladesh, I would want to come here. Bangladesh is a shithole. Most of the third world is a shithole.
Yeah.
Why wouldn't I want to come to a better country? It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Yeah. So I don't blame the migrants.
Yeah.
I blame us offering them incentives to come.
Yeah.
So we've turned mass immigration in the UK into a TV game. Just like we have I'm in the jungle, get me out of here, like the X Factor. So we've said to the third world,
isn't it? It's exhibition. People cry about it. They earn money from that. Nothing gets done.
Yeah. So we've said to the third world, if you can get to the UK, you win.
Yeah.
So you need to risk shark-infected waters, bandits in North Africa. You need to travel through European countries, and it's going to be very difficult. You've got to find a people smuggler. You've got to cross the channel without drowning. But the second you get here, you've won the game.
Yeah.
Welcome. Fantastic. Here's some money. Here's a hotel. Here's a phone. Here's free food. Here's a 4-star hotel.
Yeah.
And it's as if it's a TV game.
Yeah.
So we can't blame them for that. But we need to look at who's making all the money out of this. And you're right, it's all those businesses you talked about.
Yeah.
And you wonder why they're the businesses who are contributing to the election campaigns of politicians. If I'm making 10 billion a year as a hotelier, of course I'm going to throw a couple of million into some of the campaigning of the ministers who want open borders. Of course, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So that it's become a racket. It's become, I mean, it's going to bankrupt us. It's become a Ponzi scheme.
Yeah.
There's only so long this can go on before the scheme collapses upon itself. But some people are making millions and billions out of this.
But those rats are going to jump off the sinking ship like, they won't care.
It won't affect them.
Yeah. Yeah. So over here, it's like, it's a very a good like explanation that you give over here. Simple explanation about like the whole benefit bracket, right? A married couple jointly earn £100,000 a year. You could say that their house earns £100,000 a year. The government allows an unknown couple to move into their home. He delivers pizzas and earns £50,000 a year. She does not work and claims £3,000 in state benefits. It is factual to say that this house now earns £118,000 a year and is richer than before the strangers moved in. Do you think that the original couple are better off? Are they richer? Or are they subsidizing the new arrivals while experiencing a worse quality of life? This is why the government never talks about wealth per individual or if we feel richer, but they will discuss how the country makes more money and needs more migrants. It is a Ponzi scheme. It is an illusion that the country is benefiting from immigration, for it is not. It is making us poorer. Ponzi schemes always collapse when they run out of money. The UK is almost bankrupt. Collapse is overdue. Do you feel richer due to immigration? We have 3.12 million people using food banks, 6.4 million claiming universal credit, 1.44 million officially unemployed, and 6.3 million claiming disability benefits. Do any of these people feel richer? And this is how they try to mask the problems within the economy by like this fake immigration, like statistics that they have. Like it's a racket for them. They just want to prolong this Ponzi scheme, till they check out their ticket, right? Like just like Richard Tice said, like, oh well, I'll be dead by that time, right? Like when it was put, certain questions were put to him about immigration and about the non-assimilation of people. Well, he'll be dead by then, right? That's the view of the deputy leader of the party that is supposed to be the insurgent party.
Yeah.
Right. What hope do we have if we have people like that who are pretending to be insurgents, right? But
don't we have to realize who he is. He's a multi-millionaire man who's moved his family to Dubai. And it's like, well, if the UK collapses, he'll be fine because he's a multi-millionaire.
Yeah.
And it's the arrogance. I've met Richard Tice. He's a nice man, but he doesn't understand the problems in the UK because he's a multi-millionaire, and he's not a self-made multi-millionaire. He inherited most of the money and has increased that, I believe. But he doesn't understand that it's the working class, it's the average person living in these towns and cities who are taking the brunt of this. And will be destroyed by this. Not him, not Nigel Farage. He's another multi-millionaire. These people will get away with this, but the average person won't.
Yeah. But like to sum up this section, it's really good that what you wrote over here. I'm against cancer. I'm not against people with cancer. I'm against hunger. I'm not against hungry people. I'm against homelessness. I'm not against those without homes. I'm against immigration. I'm not against immigrants. And it's a very good way to sum it up. It's like we need to fix the system that stops others from taking advantage and benefit out of the country, right? Because you can't expect people not to do. There will be exceptional circumstances, like in my case, who haven't come over here to rape and pillage, right? Who have actually come over here for the love of the country. But you can't make rules on exceptions. You have to make rules on general ideas. But we have to make rules. We have to activate ourselves in a way to fix the system rather than just to hate a group of people, because that won't solve anything. Once we solve the system, then we can fix these things. We can remigrate people who need to be remigrated. We can stop the future people coming in from here, and all those things can be fixed if we do it from that mindset of not reactionary, but actually inventing something to fix it.
And we start fixing the system by this one thing, and it's this: all the systems in the UK should benefit and prioritize British people. That's
it.
20 years ago, that would not have been a controversial statement to make.
Every country does it.
But throughout the history of time, every country's done it. But we don't do that anymore now. We don't do it.
Yeah, so coming up to this point of this it's a good chapter. We won't go through all of it because I realize I haven't even gone through half the book. It's an hour now, but Muslims do better, I think. So this is a very good chapter because it's sort of highlighting that if you want to be perceived as good people, you have to do good acts. You can't do bad acts and then just expect people not to be bad against you. Let us put this danger into context. There are at least 2 deaths every year in England from bee stings. A Muslim has more chance of being killed by a racist bee than a racist person, right? This is in context of people saying, Islamophobia is a bigger issue than the Islamist issue, right? So that was really funny. A Muslim has more chance of being killed by a racist bee than a racist person. It is quite clear that Muslims are not in danger from any non-Muslims in England. Can the reverse be said? The number one terrorist threat in the UK is from Islamists who state that they commit their crimes in the name of Muslim God Allah, right? And also, what I was listening to as well, there's more Muslim men in prison than there are in the British Army.
Yes, yeah. Well, yeah, that's true. But there was more British Muslims joined ISIS.
Oh yeah,
than are in the British Army.
Yeah.
And Muslims in British jails are jailed at 3 times the rate.
Yeah, like 6%
you said, of the population, 18% of the prison population.
Yeah. And to not point that out as a problem it's just pathetic when people avoid this. I'm gonna move on to Hotel UK, and you've said over here, I've watched over my lifetime, like you're talking about Manchester. I've watched over my lifetime this city change. I remember as a child when the first Asian family moved into my neighborhood. They are on their own no longer, for most of the homes are now occupied by Asians. We have mosques, Indian food shops, and immigration services in the shops that once contained white British businesses. I'm not commenting if this is good or bad, it is just a fact. This latest data tells us that a third of the residents in Manchester were born outside of the UK. 1 in 3. This is incredible. There is not 1 in 3 people who are descendants of immigrants like me, you saying like you, but a third of the residents in this city were not even born in this country. That is actually truly shocking, and I want to expand on that because, like, people will take the dig at you for being a racist. Well, I don't really care about that, but this is a concern that I have myself, right? Which I have seen in the past, since Boris Wave in Essex. I have never seen so many South Indians in my life as I've seen in the past few years in Essex. They've been flooded in. And yes, I don't have any issue with individual South Asians and stuff, but I didn't come to this country for little India or little Pakistan or little China or whatever. I came here for England, right? For English businesses, for English people, for English history, and for English things out there, for English culture and traditions and values to be displayed everywhere. If you're going to get so many people of a different culture come over here, you cannot expect at all to maintain the host culture at all. Then it's sort of, I mean, it's not a racist thing or anything like that. You would mourn about it if that were to happen in Africa. If we just moved, 100,000 English people in Nairobi, right? So, and they would
a little bit different there because Nairobi would improve over a fortnight.
Oh yeah,
if we moved in 100,000 English people to Nairobi.
Yeah,
we've seen what
would improve even if we move 100 people.
we've seen what Indians can create as a country. It's called India, and nobody wants to live there. We've seen what Pakistanis can create. It's called Pakistan. No one wants to live there. So why do we keep importing people into this country who can't create a decent country themselves?
Yeah.
And we invite that many in that then they start turning parts of our country into little bits of their homeland. Little bits of Mogadishu, little bits of Karachi, little bits of here and there. And
it kind of shows, doesn't it, like that they're not coming over here for the country.
Of course they're not. And why would they?
Yeah,
I mean, you're an exception. I'll take at face value what you've said. You came here because you want to live in England, and you like the English. I'll take that at face value. Most migrants, including my father, who was a migrant, came to this country for personal benefit.
Yeah,
they had no intentions of improving the country. If they did, it was accidental because that wasn't their aim. Their aim was to go somewhere better and take the opportunities and take what was on offer to improve their lives. And most migrants get that opportunity, improve their lives. This myth that they come here to improve the country is one of the silliest things I've ever heard. My father did not come here to improve England. My father did not come here because he loved the English. My father came here for selfish reasons. And I don't blame him for that. It just happens to be true.
Yeah. But it's also like, for those immigrants as well, what do you do with it then? Right? Do you keep on, like, at some point your self-interest does become beneficial for the country because you align your self-interest with the benefit of the interest of the country, right? And that's when you become a net positive immigrant, like, to the country. But if you keep on living in these parallel communities, you're not even going to integrate or assimilate with the people. You're going to keep with your ethnic group completely to a point where, you bring on your wives from that country as well, and you keep on increasing that family circle and stuff. Your women don't even integrate into the community, that can't even speak English. You're gonna call your parents and stuff, who're gonna be a burden on the NHS, and they can't speak English. That's like, okay, you're taking the piss, and we're letting you take that piss, like that.
And that's the point. That's the point. Not only are they taking the piss, and I don't blame them for that, we allow them. And not only do we allow them, we facilitate it. At no point in my lifetime have we ever demanded any migrants to assimilate, to integrate, to not do this, not do that. you can claim benefits in this country without speaking English.
Yeah.
And they will get interpreters for you and
Yeah.
send you forms and different. All
I
that
couldn't
should be
believe that.
gone. All
I
that
couldn't believe
never should have been
that. Mm,
implemented. It
mm,
should be you come here and you live here,
mm.
then you need to become English and British. And if you don't, there will be penalties for you for that. I don't mean
Yeah.
fines. I mean penalties, as in you won't be able to claim benefits because you don't speak English. You
Mm,
won't be able to access the NHS unless you bring and pay for an
yeah.
interpreter yourself. There has to be penalties for people to change their behaviour. But
Mm,
what we've done is we've made it so pink and fluffy for them. They
yeah.
don't have to change. We bend over backwards
Yeah.
for them.
Yeah. Which is pretty annoying. And over here you talk like this is very interesting point that you talk about the mass immigration and the changes that it brings to an area, and this is concerning prostitution. But it's a very interesting example of how other immigrants can, like, change the whole market, because I've seen
Mm.
similar effects in Pakistan happen in Karachi when a lot of 300,000 or so Afghanis were moved in after that war with Russia or whatever,
Mm.
and they were brought into Karachi, and they took away all the market of the Pathans, of the northern Pakistan, who used to work all the way down in Karachi,
Mm.
because they viewed Karachi as their Dubai. So they could come into Karachi and make businesses, and they had better relationship with the Urdu-speaking people of Karachi. There was a better, safe culture.
Mm.
And then they brought in these 300,000 Afghanis into Karachi, who had most of the money, like from drugs and or smuggling and drugs like that. That didn't just take away the business of the Pathans, and they had to then migrate to Dubai to work over there in the labor market and ruin their
Mm.
life over there, and a lot of them died doing that as well. But it just changed Karachi forever. So
Mm.
it's very interesting. So over here you say, I think so, that's in Manchester, right? In Manchester, I remember a price war among the prostitutes who plied their trade at the back of Piccadilly train station. Romanian girls, not necessarily Roma, had moved into this area and started charging £5 for a blowjob or £7 for full sex. The long established prostitutes were not happy to see their profit margins take a huge tumble. We feared violence and reprisals, but it never happened. Why? The new girls had pimps to protect them. The British girls had not needed pimps for a long time. During this time, I remember a warning to police officers to be alert when arresting Roma women. Some were smearing their fingers with vaginal excretion and wiping it on the hands and clothes of arresting police officers. A claim of sexual assault would be made in the hope of not being prosecuted. This worried many male police officers and made them think twice before making an arrest. This was probably the intention. This is a, like, okay, like, we don't agree with the act itself anyways, but that's not the point. The point is the hostile takeover
Mm.
of, like, not just that the prostitutes are taking, uh, the the positions of, like, whatever, local prostitutes and stuff, but they have a racket, they have a whole um, um sort of like a organized crime sort of a thing,
Yeah.
against the police as well. They don't care about the area, they don't care about the safety of the area,
Mm.
whatever. They just want the money.
Yeah. I mean, at that time, I need to clarify this.
Mm.
This wasn't me experimenting with how cheap I could get prostitutes. I was based in a local police station in the city centre.
Mm.
My job was trying to reduce crime in the area, and obviously, I looked at prostitution because that connects a lot of the crime.
I should have given that context.
I don't want people thinking Nick can get a bargain for prostitutes, £7. No, it wasn't like that.
Yeah, but it's a prime example of that as well. So we move on the uninterested shame chapter, and over here you deal with how we have hidden things, right? And the British post office scandal and the infected blood scandal, and the problem with the home children, right? COVID fiasco and all these things. I won't go into detail, and the grooming gang scandal, right? I won't go into detail because this is a very interesting chapter as well, very detailed one as well, to understand that what are the consequences of trying to hide the shame rather than dealing with the mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, every country, every government makes mistakes. We accept that because humans make mistakes. We can accept that. I can accept that. What I can't accept is making a mistake and then covering it up at the detriment of the victims.
Yeah.
That is a step too far. So that's why I want these people punished. That's why I want the politicians involved in covering up the grooming gang scandal. They need to go to jail.
Yeah.
And you mentioned something that no one's ever heard of, the home children. So for decades and decades, nearly 100 years, the UK were deporting British children and babies and children who didn't have parents, or their parents were taken off into social care. We were sending them to Canada, South Africa, Australia, New Zealand. We were deporting our own children and getting rid of them. And at the same time, we were importing the third world.
See, I had never heard of this, and when I read this,
Yeah.
I just couldn't believe it. It was like
Yeah.
this England that I admired so much from distance. How can you do that to your own people?
Yeah.
Like, just the same that I didn't know about the grooming gang scandal, but the home children was like mind-boggling.
Yeah, and they covered it up. And only hit the headlines in the late 80s when a social worker discovered it all. And this was government doing it. This wasn't a children's home. This wasn't this was the government. It was government policy to do this. And again, to begin with, they will say we were doing it with the best intentions because these children had awful lives in this country and we were sending them to Australia to work on farms and their lives would have been better. But we know what happened to those children. They were gang raped. It was slave labor. They were abused. And some of these children are still alive today, and adults, and they talk about what happened to them. It's a horrendous scandal. But again, we all make mistakes. It isn't the mistake that gets me. It's the cover up. That's what gets me. We should be better than that. We should be admitting our mistakes, correcting them, and moving on, and punishing people for making mistakes if they were foreseeable. But no, this culture of covering everything up is at the heart of why we're failing as a nation.
Compounds the problem as well, because maybe at the first moment you made a mistake, right? An honest mistake you made, and then you're trying to cover it up, and then you're trying to cover up the cover up, and then the cover up. You end up making that problem far worse. You could have stopped it. You could have let your ego down, and you could have said, "Okay, I made a mistake. Like, let's fix it because it's not about me. It's about those that I'm serving, right? Because I'm in public service." But this is the main problem, and all of this, the issues that the grooming gang scandal is a prime example of that as well. I'll read this bit because I think it's very important. There's something that I didn't know about that was shocking. So you write over here, I set up a charity to work on the streets with young people and have uncovered many incidents of this horrendous crime. We have stopped this abuse, had offenders arrested, and even prosecuted. I speak as someone with lots of experience in this field. In 2015, my charity won a national award for tackling this secret crime that everyone knows is happening. And you write an account over here. We met Mike during a Pride event. He was in a well-known male prostitution area of Manchester. He said he was 18 years old. He looked younger, so we phoned the police to report a safeguarding concern. He was only 14 years old. The police took him into protective custody. Upon investigation, they discovered he had been selling himself for at least 18 months. He told the police he enjoyed the closeness, especially the hugging. He would do anything for a hug from another human. And this is so disheartening, is the exploitation and how many others would have been there. And this is real shame, right, upon a nation that obviously they're trying to cover it up, but because they're trying to cover it up, it destroys more and more life rather than actually trying to save it. Like, so how many of such cases, like, do you think you would have encountered? Or not such cases, but like similar or
A good couple of dozen.
and do you think the police do you know like if the police were like actually active in wanting to help, or they're like, oh, rather not know?
A little bit of both. I've put several complaints into Greater Manchester Police about some of these incidents. One of them was a girl we were working with was brought home at 3 o'clock in the morning. A 14-year-old girl was brought home in the morning by the police. She was found in a Manchester city centre hotel. So when I spoke to the police and said, who were these men? The police officers hadn't recorded their details. And I had to put an official complaint. If a police officer stops me today in my car, the first thing they do is take your name, address, and date of birth.
Yeah.
They found a 14-year-old girl, presuming being abused in a hotel by two men, and didn't even take the men's fucking details. So,
I mean, I would have arrested them, obviously,
yes,
those men, and then taken their details in custody.
yeah,
But they didn't even take the details.
yeah. And when I reported that young lad in the gay area of the city centre, it wasn't me; it was a member of staff reported it to the police. The police initial response was, "What do you want us to do about a vent boy in the gay area?" And we had to go,
boy, yeah.
And we had to get their supervisor on the phone, and their supervisor understood what we meant, and then the police turned up. But so
that's the attitude that it just happens. Like, what do you want to do?
Exactly. Yeah.
It's yeah.
But then you can meet other officers who go above and beyond. We had another girl who was being forced to meet this boy, and he told her, "You're my girlfriend, I'm your boyfriend," and she was 14, he was 17, and he'd force her to meet him, and every time she turned up, he sexually abused her. We reported that to the police. He was arrested within hours and prosecuted. So some police get it, and some police want to protect children. Others don't give a shit.
Yeah, and some are just grinded down by the years of not being enabled to help people.
Yeah,
and they just become jaded.
With all and they're the officers who need sacking.
Yeah,
I don't care if you've been ground down over decades. I want you to do a bloody good job.
Yeah. So another account that I will say, this is important in another context as well. We called at the home of a 14-year-old girl we were working with to help keep her out of trouble. Her mum was distraught when we arrived. Her daughter was upstairs in her locked bedroom with a man. He had spent the night. We knocked on the bedroom door and informed the occupants we were phoning the police. A 25-year-old man opened the door, told us he was just chatting to the girl, and hurried out of the house. Mum said she was unable to control the behavior of her daughter. So this is the problem, right? That last sentence, where obviously I'm guessing she was a single mom, as well. But apart from that as well, even when it's not single mother, it just seems like the society doesn't know how to raise their kids, because I see this on a day-to-day basis as well. On the high street, you see these young girls, visibly 13, 14, or even younger, but they are dressed as if, like, I'm sorry to say, but they're dressed as sluts.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, you're children. Why are you not dressed as children? Sometimes I see them in clothes like which are not appropriate for them, but going with their mum, who's also in a way inappropriate clothing, right? Are we creating this problem?
We are. And the first reason is many of these girls and these single mums obviously don't have fathers at home. That's what causes this. So a human needs two parents. A human needs a mum and a dad to raise a child. That's why we have it. Some animals, you only need the mum to raise you. But the humans need a father and a mother. They're both of equal value. They do different jobs. The man's job is to protect. It's protection as well as education. So that 25-year-old guy wouldn't have been in the house if a man would have been in the house. So that's why they're at danger. is because their natural protector isn't around. And father also says to their daughter, "You're not going out dressed like that because I know how men think.
Exactly.
And if I saw you and you weren't my daughter, I'd be having thoughts.
Yeah.
So you're not going out like that." Mums always want to be best friends. And through feminism as well, we've perverted women. Women now dress like pole dancers and strippers.
Yeah.
And it's empowering. But at the same time, they complain that they're being over-sexualized by men. And the answer is, you're not.
Yeah.
You're being over-sexualized. Yes, you are, but you're doing it to yourself.
Exactly.
You're doing it yourself for attention, esteem, and lots of other crap excuses you'll give yourselves. Men are failing by not being protectors. Women are failing themselves and failing their children.
Yeah, by
for
not
different
being
reasons.
women. Yeah. Because like I don't understand this idea of where they have replaced liberation and freedom to promiscuity. You don't have to be promiscuous to be free. Like it's good now that women are able to, express themselves as they want to, like within the confines of a normal social norms. But and they can do, like, they can work, they can try to achieve stuff, right? They can do well in sports, they can go and play, like, football or whatever they want to do, right? They can do those things, but that freedom comes with responsibility as well. You don't just, it doesn't mean that you can be promiscuous, because then you are then enabling the degradation of the whole society. So treat that freedom with respect, because see the other worlds where women are not other societies, I mean, they are like other worlds on there, where women are so subjugated, they can't even show their face.
And that's where this will end up if women don't get a grip. Now, I wasn't sure who you were talking about or what country you were talking about a minute ago, but you were saying now they work, now they can play. That's always been the case in the UK. These are all feminist lies that women couldn't work. If you were a working class woman in this country 200 years ago, you had to work, otherwise you'd starve to death and your family would starve to death. That's how hard it was making a living in this country. They've always been able to play sports that we deem were female sports. But what feminism has done is told women the only way for you to be successful is to be like a man. And then they told men, for men to be successful, you've got to be more like women. Feminism is the heart of these problems, destroying femininity and destroying masculinity. And women need to understand the biggest value to a woman is their virginity, their sexual desire. That's what's valuable about a woman. And instead of using that to gain the best man you can, women now give it away for free. And it's like you're giving away the best things about you, the most valuable parts about you. You're giving it away for free like a hawker. And you wonder why you're not happy. You wonder why you can't find a decent man. You wonder why you're a single parent. You wonder why your children are failing. And a lot of it comes down to women. We need to hold women to a higher standard, and we need to start telling women what they're doing wrong. Because it's easy telling men what they're doing wrong, even though we don't do it enough. That's easy. But if you criticize women, you get attacked. And I'm attacked all the time, but I don't care. We need... English men have failed their children, but so are English women.
I mean, that's true. It's a good segue into, I'm gonna skip a few chapters like about useful idiots and stuff, because people need to read that. Like it's really good, but we talk about that a lot anyways in other contexts. But it's a good segue to turn into the chapter unknown history, right? From this topic of creating fake history, and we need to talk about what are the dangers of fake history and fake memories that people build in, and then it creates fake mythologies, right? So what I actually meant was not like working, just women working and stuff. I meant like the stigma of like, oh, you can't be a scientist, or you can't be this and that. We have improved on those metrics so they can work in whatever field that they are capable of working without the stigma that, oh, you're a woman and you're not smart enough and stuff like that.
But
so
don't forget,
we should appreciate that.
At the same time that was going on, those same things were told to working class men. So, so
Yeah, but
feminism.
in their context, right? So the
Yeah.
working men should also understand this point of view that they were not allowed to vote, right?
Mm,
And they were not seen as, oh, you could not be a politician, you could not be
mm,
this and that because you're working class, your accent and you're stupid and stuff. There was a stigma around it.
yeah.
They need to appreciate that now we have broken out of that stigma,
Mm,
and there's nothing stopping them. So appreciate that and take your responsibility, and try to achieve something. And in the same space, women also
yeah.
need to understand, like, okay, you don't have those stigmas anymore. So
Yeah.
why are you trying to be a prostitute? Why is
Mm,
your highest achievement in your head is to be an Instagram prostitute,
mm,
rather than actually now you can be a scientist? So be a scientist then.
mm.
Like, be improve humanity. That's what I meant, like,
Yeah.
by
Yeah. Yeah.
work.
Yeah. Yeah. I
Yeah,
get that.
but you are right to point that out as well, because that is the point of the fake history, because that is what feminism
Yeah.
has done. That old woman was so suppressed they couldn't work. But it's idiotic, because when you read any history about the Middle Ages, both of them had to work all
Mm,
throughout the Middle Age, before that and after that.
mm,
Everyone had their job, they had to work.
mm.
you know there was no government providing free benefits. So let's talk about this from, and I'll read from here. Why do we have a memory? The simple answer is that it helps us to survive. If we can remember where there is water during a drought, then we survive. If we can remember the path of the buffalo take in autumn, then we can stock up with meat for the winter and survive. Memory is not for us to remember everything, but only those things that may be beneficial to us. That's a really good point as well. When people have near death experiences, many report seeing their whole life flash before their eyes. This is probably the mind's attempt at trying to find a solution based on a previous experience stored in our memory. This is the danger of fake history and fake memories, because it interrupts that part of our brain which is actually trying to find a solution. But it's like, oh, but your solution is not valid because it's racist. Your solution is not valid because you're a white colonialist, right? This is what the fake history is messing up with, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We need to remember what we need to remember. And we're being told now, you can't remember this. You can't remember those solutions. Those solutions are bad solutions. But these solutions have worked for thousands of years. Yeah, but we don't want them in it. But they work, but we don't want them. But they work, but we don't want them. That's how mad it's become.
Yeah. And the dangers of that is then we end up with solutions that are actually that produce more problems. They are not like really solutions, because we're doing away with what used to work, and then we're trying to create more and more things to make that solution work, right? We know that solution doesn't work, it has problems, but we're going to keep on trying to make it work, which is the multiculturalism and mass immigration and all of those things, because we're trying to make it work, right? And we keep on making it worse and worse and worse.
I remember writing in the book, I think, it would have been that book, that traditions are solutions to problems we forgot we had.
Yeah. And that's a good point. What way do you think we can reverse this? We can't expect the mainstream media right now to reverse this. We can't expect the mainstream politicians to reverse this. What can people do in their daily life, you think, and other people who actually know more and who should have the responsibility to give this knowledge to others? What can we do as a collective to reverse this problem, and try to learn the right lessons from the history, and try to understand the actual history of everything?
I think it's, again, personal responsibility. It's down to us to read more, to watch more documentaries, to listen to more intelligent podcasts, to watch historically based films, even though there's always a bit of artistic license in them. You'll still find things out. It's about us educating ourselves, because if we're looking for someone to educate us, we then run the risk of them propagandizing us. And that's the issue. So we need to start looking to have many different sources you go to and start start researching and start looking. And you might not be a researcher or a reader. That's fine. Watch some documentaries, listen to some unusual podcasts, on Spotify, whatever. There's things you can do. That's
and
what you have to educate yourself.
Yeah, and I think so hone the critical thinking point as well, like not just wanting to follow the tribe, because this is what I've seen, regardless of the political spectrum, right? I've seen that in the political right, I've seen in the political left. People just want to follow the tribe because, not just because for attention and stuff, because it delegates their thinking, right? They don't have to think anymore.
Yeah.
Someone else has thought about it. That is a popular person. Oh, he has 5 million subscribers. As if popularity equals intelligence, right? But if 5 million people are as uninformed, as you, then obviously that person who has 5 million subscribers is also going to be as uninformed as his 5 million subscribers. It's not about popularity, right? So,
well, part of this is human nature. So we've developed over time that if we don't know what to do, the most sensible solution is to follow what everyone else is doing.
Yeah.
So part of it is learned behavior. Hence why on TV shows, you can always ask the audience, because 100 people in a studio and more than likely will give you the right answer.
Yeah.
If you don't know the answer.
Yeah.
So some of it's that. But you're right. Some of it is we don't want to take responsibility. We don't want to do the hard work of thinking through a problem ourselves. Let's just go with the crowd.
Yeah. And then just assessing, like, because if we take away the attention from the people who are actually grifting, let's say it like as it is, regardless of what personalities they are or how popular they are or whatever it might be, I don't care, who are just grifting for your attention and stuff. If you take away their attention, their source is your attention, right? Right, that's how they do whatever they do. Just take that away from those con men, right? And give your attention to people who are actually inviting you to think critically, who are actually criticizing their own side a lot more than they criticize the other side, right? So that shows you this person is actually trying to think of a solution and not just like make excuses and stuff. These things people can actually do, and but they need to stop blaming, oh, the schools didn't teach me or my parents didn't teach me. You're an adult now, like you have to teach yourself so that you can break that cycle, and then you can teach your kids, and like this is how I think so. That is the best thing that people can do. Like when they develop that, then they can find those like good documentaries, like interesting podcasts, and like different conversations that they might not agree with, but they might like understand, oh, okay, I do understand what this person is trying to say. It's like I had a interaction today on Twitter. I've actually reduced my interaction by a lot because of this reason, because I'm sick. I'm done like banging my head on the wall with certain people, where I was saying, like, there was a problem with the Essex police. I was saying, well, there's a lot of good police officers within Essex police. I know that they are, right? And their leadership is failing them. Maybe it's time for them to, just stop just following orders and start questioning, because the change needs to come from within, right? Can't come from without. It has to come from within. And this person said to me, it's like, I don't understand why people say like there are some good police officers. They all corrupt. Never trust any police officers. It's like, and they're all oppressors and stuff. It's like, and this person was supposed to be on the political right, as I could see it, right? It's like, oh, you have done the same thing. You created the oppressor and oppressed narrative, a simple them and us, right? It's not that simple. Why are you making things so simple? Because it's so much easy, isn't it? Because then I just have someone to blame, right? And then that a problem is so much bigger than me. I don't have the responsibility then to change it as well, because it's so much bigger than me.
Yeah. And don't forget, lots of people don't have the ability to think that deeply. Not everyone is like me and you. We're very inquisitive. We're trying to seek the truth. Most people haven't got the intellectual ability for that. And that hence why we call them sheep. And there's nothing wrong in being a sheep,
Mm.
because you couldn't have a world full of me news,
Yeah.
because nothing would ever get done, because
Mm.
we're too
We'll keep
inquisitive.
on arguing with each other.
Exactly. So those people just want simplicity. They want simple answers to complicated
Yeah.
problems, and for them, it works for them, and they're never going to change, because that's the way they are. But it doesn't mean that me and you should stop being who we are.
Yeah. We should try to improve how we communicate
Mm.
so that we can convince, better people. So we are now towards the end. You might be glad to know that. So the last two things that I want to discuss. So the chapter Undead, the Resurrection, which is the main point, which I asked at the start of the episode, how do we get out of it? And we have been answering it by little by little by little in different things. So I'll read from here because this is really good. It is slightly bit long, but I think so it's important to read this out. England is not over. It is not finished. We are not defeated. I challenge any motherfucker to show me otherwise. I love that. I know times are hard. I realize we are in trouble. I will accept that we are sprawled out on the canvas. A cut above one eye, gum shield missing, and looking for the ropes to help us get back. I do not want to hear from any coward, quisling, or traitor telling me there is no point in fighting to breathe life back into this ancient land of ours. We are down, we are not out. In the grand scheme of things, I'm unsure if we can even classify our problem as a large problem. It is all a matter of scale. We are not Jews in Nazi Germany. We are not Eastern Europeans when the Iron Curtain fell. We are not black Africans sold into slavery by our neighbors. We all have problems. Some are a lot bigger than others. The resurrection of England starts with the English wanting their country not to die. This should not be a big ask, but surprisingly, it is for some. It is not for me, and I hope it is not for you. A few of us are all that is needed to start CPR and return life into this ailing country and its mentally ill inhabitants. For you have to be mentally ill, mentally unwell, not to love this land more than yourself. A country that does not surrender cannot be defeated. Vietnam and Afghanistan taught a world power this lesson. We have a serious fight on our hands, but it is no bigger than those that have gone before. In fact, it is smaller. It is a different type of danger, for many of the enemy live amongst us. So we will need new tactics and weapons. We beat the French with a longbow, the Germans with radar. We will find something appropriate for this fight. This is the best message to give, I think so. Yeah, I think so. Like, you can only be defeated as a people once you accept it. And in the mind, you're defeated in the mind before you are in the body.
Absolutely. Mike Tyson said that in his prime. Mike Tyson said, I'd walk into a ring and I'd look into the eyes of my opponent and I already knew I'd won because all I saw was fear. And that's what we need to stop.
Yeah,
being is fearful. And we beat the French with a longbow, we beat the Germans with radar. I've come to the conclusion what the secret weapon is now to beat the foe today. And we'll beat the foe today with the truth. The truth is on our side. Yeah. They've created a web of lies about the English and Britain and everything. Yeah. Our secret weapon is the truth, because the truth can't be beaten. And if we can keep promoting the truth, I think this fight will end a lot quicker.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Nick, for coming on and talking about your book. I encourage everyone to buy the book, England, My England, The Death and Resurrection. Oh, there it is as well. I was actually reading it as well. A mirror image of both. So yeah, go on Amazon, buy it. The link will be in the description below, and I'll leave you guys and obviously all the links to find Nick on social media and YouTube and everything. All the links will be in the description below, and I'll leave you guys with this final quote, and this is by Nick. This is something that I've been talking about a lot as well. I really believe in this, right? And this is a Christian ethic as well in itself. To become a phoenix, you must endure the fire. Thank you for listening.
Thank you.